This is the Fairly Awesome Podcast, the only podcast where it puts the lotion on its skin or else it gets the video again. Yes, precious, it gets the video again. I'm your host, Nate Bushing, and joining me this week is Chris Keene, Ryan McDowell, and Staughton Wade. So how's it going, guys?
It's going pretty good.
Yeah. Buffalo Bill reference. I'm doing pretty good already.
Yeah. I like to bring them in early just so you can stay nice and relaxed and rub the lotion in real good. Riding that on.
And now it's uncomfortable.
Yeah, now it's uncomfortable. That's the point where we draw the line.
But that's where we like it.
All right. Well, we got a jam-packed show this week, so we'll get right down to it. So Hollywood just like to give us that nice little bitch slap because it's the tail end of summer, and they left us with Ben Affleck. It's like a bad taste in my mouth.
Yeah, holy shit.
Oh, shit. Holy God.
Are you sure it wasn't Matt Damon that did it for you?
You know, honestly, Matt Damon as Matt Damon in Team America World Police would have made a better Batman than Ben Affleck. I would take that.
You would?
Absolutely, yeah.
I don't know. I think Adam West's body, Ben Affleck, it does him justice. You know, the nipples aren't poking out quite as bad as they did in Mallrats, you know? It's all right. It's good. What do you guys think, though, Ryan?
Well, okay, so we found out that Ben Affleck is going to be the next Batman. Mm-hmm. Of course, that's what we're referencing here. Mm-hmm. And, you know, all the hilarity ensues of people making references.
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
This one of 8,000 memes that popped up within a 10-minute period.
This could be really, really, really bad as it's predicted, or it could be okay.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to be epic. It could be okay, though. You know, I hope it doesn't turn into a Green Lantern, you know, where you you know, they try and do too much.
Like, oh, this is going to work. It's Ryan Reynolds. Everybody shit.
I think he's tried to play too many comic book guys, actually, to be honest with you.
Right, but Ben Affleck didn't really do so well in, like, Daredevil.
Yeah.
Didn't really care for that movie. I don't know what you guys felt about that, but I will say that his more recent movies have made me think that this might not be like flaming terrible.
They've already predicted this. It's writing the bomb down just as we go.
Right. Like Argo. I don't know if you guys have seen that movie, but
not seen it.
If you haven't, it is a good one.
It is good.
He does actually. You get to see some of Ben Affleck's acting chops. And he can play serious well. Can he do throat cancer voice?
I think he's going to differentiate himself as much as possible from that, though. He doesn't want to be Bale, because then everybody would, you know, picture him as that. Then he's got a metric. He wants to probably step aside and give Henry Cavill the kind of younger Batman that...
Yeah, but they're not changing the writing for him. You know what I'm saying? I mean, they kind of wrote this all for Christian Bale, and they just couldn't afford him, right?
This is, well, that's, I don't know, I'm not sure. We don't know the whole behind-the-scenes story yet. I'm sure it'll come out eventually. Mm-hmm. But we do know that, like you said, Argo was great. The Town was pretty good. Gone Baby Gone, which he wasn't in, was fantastic too. And what do those things all have in common?
His cheesy smile?
Creeping me out.
I can just imagine that with the
no, he's looking into your soul right now. I hope you know that.
Right. You just imagine this with the beard and all, with the bat mask.
Right
yeah, I know. I wish we could have had a really high-res photo. That way we could see each individual with a beard hair and we could pluck them. But the thing that those all shared in common was that he was involved in the writing and directed every one of them. And I'm not sure that I've ever seen a good Ben Affleck movie that he wasn't involved at the front and back end of the production of.
Oh, so, that's a good point. He's doing a lot of directing lately, right?
His directing is great.
Phenomenal.
Gone Baby Gone is badass.
Yeah.
Like, Casey Affleck is legit in that movie. And The Town's good, and obviously Argo's good. Mm-hmm. But again, it's his material. So do we think that with a different director, with a kind of big name co-star, because he didn't have a big name co-star in Argo, and I would argue he didn't really have a big name co-star in The Town either.
Yeah.
People that maybe became bigger after the fact. But we'll see this is my issue with this, is that we're all pissed off. Like, I heard about this at 10 p.m. When it was announced that same day.
was like Friday, wasn't it? A couple Fridays ago, or Thursday, or something like that.
This is I didn't remember, but it was like instant internet hatred.
Oh yeah,
meme crazy.
Tumblr was
Dash Fest.
pictures all over.
Entire 24-hour period where he got slaughtered, and then all of a sudden, every single mainstream Hollywood person and publication went so pro Ben Affleck. I've never seen anything like it in my life.
Yeah.
And like,
Sold.
it was amazing to me. Like, you had previous Batmans come out and say, "Oh, he's going to kill it." And then you had directors and all the people that normally I would respect saying, "Oh, yeah, Ben Affleck will be great." And I'm like, who's paying you off here?
Well, there's a lot of money involved, I'm sure, but you know, I teetered because I did the fanboy hate. I had the initial like, oh, what the heck? It didn't make any sense to me. And I'm like, I started to think back. I'm like, what really didn't I appreciate Ben Affleck in, or like see something and be like, oh, he was horrible in that? He's not. You know, I mean, he's not like an actor that I would have picked out of the hat. You know, there was talks that Josh Brolin was in running for it and Ryan Gosling, but Josh Brolin to me was like, that kind of makes sense. You know, he has that gravelly kind of voice. He can do the Dark Knight sort of.
Continue the style.
Yeah, he could continue that style. Christian Bale, he's about the age range. You know, you'd fit. He's a little older, but
is the problem that the Dark Knight trilogy, the Christopher Nolan, Christian Bale trilogy, was so good that maybe they should have made like a Superman Returns Batman movie? we were all like,
expectations were set
man,
low.
This is so bad. So that when Man of Steel comes out, those of you that saw it. But, like, it got basically, even though it had some flaws in it, everyone was like, yes, Superman's back! Because they felt so good about it. Maybe they needed that, like, terrible movie instead of coming out and trying to... They've signed him to a multi-picture deal.
Yeah. Well, yeah, he's like, what, four movies or something? Or something? His own trilogy?
Isn't that there's the rumor that's kind of questionable based on the source that DC is trying to do what Marvel's doing and signing people to...
somebody I heard 13
film,
which is insanity.
Yeah. That right there would kind of set off a few alarms and be like, this is crap.
It sounds like a bad rumor. Yeah,
that's not real.
Yeah,
but I mean, I would assume at this point DC kind of has to be thinking along those same lines, seeing what's happened with Avengers and that line, that they got to get people on for several movies. Otherwise, they pretty much keep getting a new character, and we're back to
rebooting every time.
Yeah.
You can't build up enough marketing and
Yep.
Either the reboots or you're back to the original Batman horrible ending quintology there.
Henry Cavill has to be nervous.
Yeah.
Because if this is a bad movie, then his run as Superman is pretty much over, too.
Yep.
Because they'll have to reboot him again.
That's what I was going to say. They're banking a lot. I mean, for him, like, I saw Man of Steel, and it was good. I mean, I don't know if any of you guys seen it since. You've seen it? No, haven't seen it. Okay. It was really good.
Not a big fan of the Superman character.
We've discussed times. But it was really good as a movie, and I think it could carry like a second movie on its own. I don't know why they're doing it. It's more like they feel like Batman would boost the sales by including both of them together. Or they've always wanted to do this Alien vs. Predator kind of have the mash up ever since Batman and Superman. They've done movies before where it's comic book movies, and they've had Batman and Superman, and they were all right. I've seen a few of them, and they were. It's
a money hungry decision, is what it is.
Yeah.
When Disney started doing Avengers, they didn't come out with Avengers.
Right.
They came out with multiple movies that built up to the point where you could have an Avengers movie.
Yeah.
For them to take a brand new Batman and not give him a solo outing to kind of get us used to the idea of Ben Affleck as Batman. He's going to have to share time with Superman.
Yeah.
And then people are... Nobody knows what the script is going to be.
Yeah, exactly.
But they're saying, well, this is going to take place in Metropolis. So we're not even going to see Gotham City, and you're just going to throw Batman in there, and how much... I don't know. It just...
You know what it sounds like to me? There's going to be... If they went that route, I'd hate that. It's almost like they'd go the Avengers route. They'd have Batman, or they'd have Superman as the main character in the beginning, and then you have Batman come in, and they have like a fight between them, and then by the third act, they've made up, and then they're working together against the enemy. It's like, I don't want to have that again.
That's going to happen.
I know, and I don't want to have that again. That's the other thing.
Like, even Avengers was sort of...
It was that way, yeah.
As the main character.
It's that angst, that Storm Norm group
Interesting,
stuff.
though, Iron Man's... Really, Captain America's the main character.
In Avengers? Yeah, a little bit. I could see that, because he's the one that tries to bring...
He's the
Tony
leader,
Stark.
the leader of the group, and,
Yep.
and I think that we like to think of Tony Stark as the main character because we all kind of like him.
Yes. Well, Tony, he steals the show. I mean, Robert Downey is what makes that movie thrive in the comedic.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he's the one that brings the ladies to the yard, so to speak, for that movie too. You know, a lot of ladies like the.
They're like, my Iron Man's better than yours.
Yeah,
damn right.
It's better than yours.
He could teach you, but he'd have to charge.
If you speak more than that, we're gonna have to be charged for that. Royalties.
Okay. So here's a couple of things. So Batman has to encompass a couple of things, right?
Yeah.
Whoever plays him has to be able to pull off the Bruce Wayne swagger,
This is true,
right? Mm-hmm. So you've got to evaluate: can Ben Affleck do that? I think on that side he's okay.
Yeah.
I think in that regard, I think Ben Affleck is okay.
Not the
I
best
actually
choice for
disagree
it.
because when I look at Ben Affleck, despite this handsome picture of him, he plays kind of that tough Boston brawler better than he plays like suave and sophisticated.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think that was the problem with Daredevil, is that Daredevil was supposed to be kind of it was like a lawyer. Right?
Yes, and he didn't have that smooth. He didn't have that smooth kind of talking.
He doesn't
You still
have.
see Dogma, you know.
Dogma is actually a good movie, but Ben Affleck plays tough guys better than he plays smooth guys.
So
And Bruce Wayne is not a tough guy. Batman's a tough guy.
Mm-hmm.
And
Okay,
I'm
so
not sure.
then the second thing that he's got to be able to do is physically represent Batman, right? I mean, Batman is a big guy.
yeah,
I mean, in all the comics, Batman was I mean, he didn't have any mutant powers that made his stringy, bony arms, suddenly superhuman strength. I mean, he was just a big physical guy, right?
Yeah.
Now, we can look at it, and Michael Keaton,
not a big guy.
not a big guy,
Yeah, no.
but pulled that off. A lot of people were happy with Michael Keaton as
absolutely.
Batman.
Well, they used the dark cape, and they kind of covered him up a lot in those scenes.
He was definitely stuffing the pecs.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they had
He was like, "What's up, ladies?"
he skipped chest day. And
they didn't put the rubberized nipples on until much later.
Yes, that was the Kilmer.
Okay, so can he pull off the sort of the physical side of this?
Yes, I say yes, just because he's a taller guy. You put him next to Matt Damon, like we had him in the other picture. Obviously, that's not. But you look at him; he is a taller guy. He's kind of built. He's not like big and muscular, but that's not something I think that's out of the realm of possibility for him. I could see him beefing up for the role. Like he looked good as Daredevil in the costume.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say he played the part well, but I'd say Daredevil, he filled the costume, so to speak.
All right, and then the third point is raspy voice and quasi kung fu / brawler fighting style.
Yeah.
That's where I take issue, because I don't think Ben Affleck, because ever since The Matrix, basically, we expect kung fu action out of our action stars.
Yeah.
Gone are the days of the John Wayne knockout punch. With
where
one
it's
punch,
the one
there's your
side
fight scene.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm not sure Ben Affleck can move like Christian Bale could move, and it might look a little...
We can't accept a drunken boxing Batman. Is that what you're saying?
Jackie Chan as Batman, drunken monkey.
Hey, possibly a better Batman. Who knows?
Right. So yeah, I don't know, but I mean, since the '80s, they've kind of done the League of Shadows backstory on Batman, as opposed to the what is it, the '60s, '70s detective comics, where he was sort of the one hit, boxer, the
one hit dude,
pow, bang.
That's what this movie's really going to need, I think, is
bang pow,
large, colorful.
Sound effect.
Is onomatopoeia? Is that what it is?
In a way, I could embrace that if I owned it,
just
but
accept it and go with it.
Yeah, I mean, we really could have Matt Damon as Robin, and it would be fantastic. This is Zack Snyder has earned his directing chops.
Yes,
he's done some great comic book movies.
Yep,
from other people's source material. Now, the question is, can he take an original story, something that's not appeared on a comic book page, and make a movie that is pretty much universally among fanboy culture loved.
Yeah.
I'm not convinced he can do that yet. Mm-hmm. So we'll have to see. Because when you get a comic book, the directing is done for you. It's literally storyboarded out. All you have to do is shoot it.
Yep. I mean, the script is pretty much wrote itself too. It's to a certain extent. You can have bad writing as far as the
you have to find
parts
a way to,
of speaking,
you have to find a way to cram it into 2.5 hour movie.
Right.
But most of the actual storytelling and how to shoot it, how to make it look, is done for you.
Yep.
And I know he's done a lot of movies, but again, can he do that level of blockbuster? Because if this makes $300 million, it will be a failure.
Right.
It's going to have to make $750 million for it to meet the expectations that we all probably have for it, or I should say that Warner Bros. Has for it financially.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I don't know that there's not a whole lot of source material. I mean, like, there are I think the world's finest comics. I know they're from like back in the 70s, but they had a lot of Batman Superman crossovers. There is actually there's a cartoon Batman Superman crossover. Mm-hmm. And not that they'd use that story, but I think there's enough old source material you can kind of look at it and not screw it up too horribly, hopefully.
I hope so, but again, I'm not...
Yeah.
Can you think... Because when you think of X-Men, you can think of probably, I would say, 3 or 4 big X-Men storylines that they could easily turn into a big movie. I mean, they're about to do one.
Yeah.
When you think of Spider-Man, you've kind of got some of the same things. You have that big story that's occurred. Batman, the Frank Miller Dark Knight has been done.
Yeah, a lot.
but that is a story that when you think of it now, there is no Superman v Batman story that comes up off the top of my head.
Yeah. I don't think you could do a Superman versus Batman. I mean,
that's what the fans want, probably.
Not to jump into Marvel versus DC, but where Marvel does it right is they have characters that have abilities and another character that can offset those abilities. Mm-hmm. With DC, you've got Superman who can do pretty much anything as long as there's not Krypton around and there's a yellow sun to charge him up. And you've got Batman who's pretty built, can kind of do some stuff, maybe has some kryptonite on him so he could fight Superman.
He's got a bad back.
He does have a bad back. Might have had that broken once or twice. But, I mean, you can't really throw, somebody that can do anything against a normal human who's, a little better built.
This is the critical character flaw. You and I have talked about this a lot. That Superman can do literally anything, including circle around the earth till he goes back in time sometimes. I mean...
Yeah, let's not have the circular conversation on that, though. We could go back around on that.
Superman's time travel.
But do you guys think it would take... Could they go less Nolan, I don't want to say that, but less serious on their tone, and it would make the movie okay with this? Or do you think they still have to stay in that tone that they've already built? Like,
I think they got to stay in it
because they've already done it with Man of Steel. It is that tone. It's very close to Batman as far as the tone in the last Dark Knight trilogy.
In the most recent movies, you pretty much have to stay serious because if you even remotely stray into not serious, people are going to be like, "Oh, Schumacher Batman, huh? That's the route you went." And it's going to be like, nobody wants to watch that.
See, I was thinking more like Fantastic Four, but that's a horrible metric. But you know what I mean? That's a movie where they tried to kind of be serious half the time, but they walked that line. They didn't walk it well, but I think...
There's not enough... they didn't lay enough groundwork for this to take that sort of Avengers sort of, what do you want? Like a jovial sort of, comedic nature where they're all sort of playing off each other because they didn't have their background stories. We're not going to have a background on Ben Affleck
as Batman,
like we said.
No, I don't think everybody knows what Batman's backstory is. At this point, it's been so played out.
It doesn't really have a comedic side to it.
No.
Yeah, it's pretty bleak. I mean, how do you joke about having your back broken or your parents getting dead? There's nothing funny there.
Well, we're all laughing right now.
Superheroes line up. Whoever hasn't had their back broken and parents killed, please take one step forward. Not so fast, Bruce Wayne.
I was going to say about the only thing they could do with Batman is maybe take it the womanizing route for Bruce Wayne and maybe take some comedic value from that.
There was a little of that.
Yeah, exactly.
In Dark Knight.
Yeah, exactly. But that's about all they can do with it. And how far can they go with that?
I don't know, maybe. I suppose now that I think about it, Bruce Wayne's parents killed. Superman's parents killed when Krypton blew up, so maybe they can spend 30 minutes in the movie drinking with each other,
Cuddling, having
consoling each other.
I love you.
Hugging.
I love you, Ben Affleck. It's okay.
It'll be, maybe we can get, what's his face that did the Notebook to come in and write a script.
Maybe Ryan Gosling.
Now, I will
That's
say
why he was going to be Batman.
probably a better choice than Ryan Gosling.
Yeah, I would.
Ben Affleck I can at least see angry.
Yes.
I haven't seen Drive yet, so I can't see Ryan Gosling being angry,
yes.
although it's on my Netflix queue, so we'll see.
Eventually.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that it's going to be, for poor Henry Cavill, a bad second outing.
Yes, I agree. Speaking of things that could have a bad second outing, there's been some sophomore slumps in the past few years. Like
no better sophomore slump
than Duke Nukem Forever. Yes.
Why is he trying to shoot poor Miranda Lawson?
Oh, I don't think he's trying to shoot her. He might be trying to shoot Gearbox Software for releasing Duke Nukem Forever when it should have probably stayed buried. But
Is he getting like a reach around? Rusty trombone?
No,
Ryan, I believe that's your hand.
I swear that is
I know you were painting them pink,
that
but
is the first time I've noticed that.
Me too.
Yeah, I never paid attention to that.
I just thought it was natural that it just reach up. I thought he was a little jointed.
Where is she that she's got the hand like that?
That is actually his hand. It's just a bad shot job. That's what that is.
I can tell by the pixels. Okay, so
anyway, back on topic. Yes, sophomore slumps. Duke Nukem Forever is our poster child here for this. But really, what we're referring to is anything that has basically had a great first outing or a first outing that was deemed good by fans, and then had a second outing that wasn't so good. I would say Spider-Man 2 is actually probably not really into that. Some say Halo 2, Chris.
To me, Halo 2 was very truncated. It was very Two Towersy. It was to get from 1 to 3.
He said 2 towers.
Not that 2 Towers is terrible.
2 towers.
Yeah.
But it's 2 towers. I can sum up in like 3 seconds. No, third movie. Okay, we're there.
They've taken the Hobbits to Isengard. They've taken the Hobbits to Isengard.
Never
That's
mind
2 towers,
the epic, the saving of the. You know what? We'll just argue about it later.
I smell a short.
You probably didn't like Empire Strikes Back either.
No, I did like Empire Strikes Back was fine.
Yes.
Was fine.
Was fine. Oh man, I would say
what movie that some people call the greatest of the trilogy?
The issue I have with Empire Strikes Back is Empire Strikes Back took Star Wars, the story that they had with Star Wars, and Lucas realized that Star Wars, nobody liked Mark Hamill as the lead hero guy. And so they were like, well, let's switch everybody around. Now Leia likes Han. And we'll just make Luke and Leia brother and sister, and we'll just kind of consider that whole makeout scene in the first movie just creepy. They didn't know they were brother and sister, and then we'll throw in the twist where Luke is Vader's son, and then Leia's Vader's daughter, and
I thought the script was written on that.
Yeah, I did too. Honestly, I would say Mark Hamill's acting chops between New Hope and Empire were he must have.
It's not that he didn't.
He got really good between the two.
If you go back and you watch the original Star Wars versus Empire Strikes Back, they completely changed the way the characters were set up.
They split them off so that Han and Leia and that group stayed together, and they were kind of a main story.
It was always supposed to do that, though.
It was tangential. Yeah.
Was it?
Yeah. They had the 3, and then somewhere around when they were filming Return of the Jedi, he wrote the other screenplay for 1, 2, and 3, not the ones we ended up getting, though.
Yeah.
Those were written much later. But the story was always supposed to be that Vader was...
That's not what I'd heard. I mean, not that Vader wasn't supposed to be his dad.
Somewhere out there, there's a fanboy at his keyboard.
These guys are
angrily about the flight.
Let us know in the comments below if we were right or wrong.
If only we had a device that was connected to all the information in the known world where we can look
at some interconnected network.
We don't have... Ain't nobody got time for that, Staughton. But for instance, I would say you could probably take the sophomore slump and say the whole Star Wars trilogy was the first outing, and then maybe the next trilogy would be the sophomore slump, where he tried to reinvigorate that. Staunton's looking at me like, there is no next trilogy. What are you talking about?
Did they film more after each other?
No,
I have a legitimate sophomore slump for you.
Okay.
And I've asked him to be here tonight.
Oh.
So that we could club him with our DVDs of Signs and The Village and The Happening. But unfortunately, M. Night Shyamalama Ding Dong could not show up, or what should say, wouldn't
wait a minute,
calls.
he might show up later. What the twist?
That would be a better movie than The Happening.
Oh, my God.
No spoiler alert, the trees are killing people. It's that retarded.
Dude, they're killing me too with these allergies, man.
That's basically what it was.
It was.
Except for the allergy
Allergies
caused you to
kill
want to
everybody.
kill yourself.
Yeah.
But then he goes and he makes a girl
Some
in the
days
water
they do.
and redeems, right?
Lady in the Water.
Lady in the water? Redeems?
Yeah,
No.
and then he made
Totally does it.
And he made Last Airbender, and all the fans of that loved
That,
it.
that was a
that
great
movie,
film.
yeah.
And then,
He won some awards.
Sarcasm.
What? No, but the reality is that that movie that he originally made, his name is escaping me right now.
Sixth Sense?
Sixth Sense. Holy crap!
Or Unbreakable?
He's made so many bad movies that I can't
he
remember
did. He
the
was on
good
such
one.
a good streak. Like Sixth Sense was good.
I liked Signs.
Signs was pretty okay.
Other than the water,
Kinda had
I mean,
The
Yeah.
twist.
What
twist.
happened with him, it seems like, is that he had such good luck with Sixth Sense and the twist. And everyone's like, you're such a great writer. I never saw that coming, even though he telegraphed it the whole movie. Which is a good twist, is you telegraph it the whole movie and you don't see it coming. It is that he tried to incorporate that into literally everything he did, when he should have just said, what would make a good story? What would make it be interesting? Rather than having a twist, just tell us a good story and then direct it. And for some reason, people keep on giving this fucker money to make more.
Well, yeah, no, I think this generation has played out twists, though, right? We started with Fight Club, and everybody's like, oh my God. Yeah, no spoilers on that. That movie's way old. But, you learn that he's the freaking Tyler Durden. He is Tyler Durden, He is the person, that cultic personality almost, The twist has been kind of played out. You almost expect it. Like, I went into The Village expecting a twist, and I kind of got it halfway through.
It was like when I watched The Happening.
Yeah. I've seen it too. Mark Wahlberg.
I knew that the trees were killing people before I saw it, so I was basically watching it to see just how bad the movie actually was.
How did you get there? Right.
And it's not even really a twist. It's so, like, Mark Wahlberg is a science teacher that kind of, like, through the whole thing is, like, using my scientific knowledge of being a high school science teacher, I've determined that the trees are slaughtering people.
Yeah,
You know?
somebody else wouldn't figure this out at this point. Yeah,
It's just...
All right. So who else has sophomore slumps? Because I've got one, and I didn't even play it.
Oh.
BioShock 2.
Oh. I would not say...
With BioShock 1, and it was like everybody's favorite.
Okay.
Everybody was talking about BioShock. And
Yes.
How awesome it was. And then they did BioShock 2.
Okay.
And I did not hear nearly the same good reviews.
I would not actually give that a sophomore slump, although I think it would commonly be pushed that way for people that didn't play it, or that started it and didn't finish it all the way through, because it really picks up in the second half of the whole game. I don't know if you played BioShock 2 as well.
I played, yeah.
Yeah, it starts off kind of slow, and you're like, man, I'm back in Rapture. This doesn't really make sense why, I felt like that story concluded well in the first one, and then you get into the second one, and it's kind of slow in the beginning. Picks up. The story really does draw you in.
I think a lot of that one really was, you had BioShock 1, the story going in, so you were kind of expecting either something similar or, something like it, or at least some better references to BioShock 1 given the timeline of the game.
Yes.
I think that Ken Levine suffers from a problem that is relatively unique, actually, in our society right now, which is you did something so incredibly well that it is literally impossible to follow. You can't do so. Your next outing can't be better than the first. That's pretty unique. Usually, people can follow up with something good, or it's just terrible because they just made all the wrong decisions.
Yeah.
BioShock was so good that you couldn't, no matter what he came out with,
You
it
couldn't
wasn't
reach
going to
that
be,
bar that
couldn't
was
reach
set.
that bar.
Yeah.
But that's why he came, but that, Infinite, several years later, different setting, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Critically acclaimed, loved by millions of gamers. Not this one, but still, again, it's because I'm total BioShock fanboy.
Yeah.
I sold into it. I played BioShock 2, played it all the way through, and it was BioShock-esque, but it couldn't, even from the moment I put it in, I knew I wasn't going to like it as much as BioShock.
And see, I think actually, and I would probably be a contrary opinion on this, but I think I like the story in BioShock is really good. In all the games, even 1, 2, Infinite. I love the story written. I think the gameplay could be better. And I actually go back to Ken Levine's older gameplay when he made System Shock 2, which was made in the late 90s, which was kind of the precursor to this, with this gameplay that he had. It was like RPG elements. It was early FPS RPG melding together in System Shock 2. I think that gameplay was more compelling than BioShock, so to speak. But I don't know. Would you consider Infinite then the sophomore slump to BioShock? In your opinion?
No, again, because he did what Warner Brothers should have done with Batman versus Superman. Is he made a game that was just a game. He had a great game, and he just made a game, and now he made another great game. Because you have that time separation there for people to get over your perfection, basically.
Well, yeah, it was 6 years ago. You think about it, it's hard to believe. BioShock came out in 2007. It's 2013 now.
I feel a little bit like this is not a sophomore slump, but Mass Effect 3 suffered from the slump from Mass Effect 2, because Mass Effect 2 made such a jump from Mass Effect 1.
Oh, yeah.
That there was no way Mass Effect 3 was going to be able to match that kind of love for Mass Effect 2, because it was going to be dark, because you couldn't have the story that you had in Mass Effect 2.
And we can probably go into a whole short about Mass Effect on Mass Effect 2.
Yes,
I thought the story in Mass Effect 2 was really good, even though Reapers weren't really the bad guys. I mean, it was kind of still sitting there.
Yeah.
But I thought the way they ended Mass Effect 2, I was like, seriously? Terminator baby?
Yeah, Terminator baby thing, yeah.
Anyway,
so they have a bad final boss.
Okay. But this doesn't just apply to movies and whatnot either. I mean, bands can have this.
Yes, yes.
So do you guys have any examples of bands that had the sophomore slump? Because this is kind of how it started, right?
Mm-hmm.
You had bands that would come out with a really good first album, and you're like, yeah, this is awesome. And then they release the second one, and you're like, what is this crap?
Yeah.
Yeah. One that jumped to mind a couple days ago, because I was listening to one of the radio channels, A Perfect Circle.
Oh, yes.
Their
Good,
first
good.
album was great. You had, Judith and
Oriestes, Three
Hollow.
Libras,
Three
The
Libras,
Hollow,
that was great songs.
Brenya.
And then the next one was a bunch of horrible cover songs.
Mm.
So bad.
Maynard.
We still love you, Maynard.
It's okay. It built up a lot of acceptance on the first one to just kind of write the second.
But see, he didn't do that with Tool though.
No.
Tool had the Undertow was like really kind of rough cut,
Mm-hmm.
and then was it
We got some
Anima?
Yeah, Anima. He got some money. He got some money behind it. Yeah.
That was the big one.
Yeah.
So it defined
That was the one that defined their sound.
So I think we can agree that the sophomore slump exists.
Yeah.
It just might not be as prevalent. I mean, we're finding almost more cases where the second one was actually good and defied the sophomore slump.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like a lot of the instances where the sophomore slump occurred, you set out from the beginning to do better than the first intentionally. Like a lot of the times the sophomore slump doesn't happen if you kind of accept that the first was what it was, but now you're going to do this.
Mm-hmm.
I think that actually probably happens the most in music, because what happens is you write a bunch of songs that people love, and then you're like, man, we got to write a whole bunch of more songs just like that.
Yeah.
And so your fans pick it up and go, I've already heard this.
Yeah,
that is M. Night Shyamalan syndrome.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. There you go.
Mm-hmm.
They shouldn't call this sophomore slump. They should call this M. Night
Shyamalan slump.
Shyamalan.
It's the shump.
The Shyamalan.
It's got the MNS.
Yes.
Right. So on the other side of this, right, you've got I have no idea where I was going.
On the other side, you have a
Ryan's
orange
having a
Diet Pop.
sophomore show slump.
Oh, that's too bad. It is our second show, so we are on
Yeah,
our sophomore
right. So
slump.
speaking of
So this was going to be terrible, is what we're saying.
right. So the first
Oh.
one, we had that awesome guy hosting it.
And then we had that. Now we have this guy.
Now we got this guy.
Beautiful.
I don't know. I think the first 34, 58 seconds have been fantastic.
See? Aha!
Damn it.
He's already behind me on it.
But it's funny though, because where do you consider the sophomore slump? Because this is not really a true sophomore slump. Empire Strikes Back is not a true sophomore slump because that's not his second movie. His first movie was THX, whatever, yeah. And then, Peter Jackson, his second movie ever was not Two Towers.
That's true.
No.
So,
Yeah, but I think it's more about the idea.
And this one, yes, Duke Nukem wasn't 2. This was 3D Realms is 2, though, if you want to put it that way.
And it's the
Duke Nukem
3D.
and Duke Nukem 2D, Duke Nukem and Duke Nukem 2 were both side scrollers.
Say that five times fast.
Yeah.
Duke.
And then never
The
no.
3D. So this is the second 3D.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so this is the second 3D. So, this is the second
This
Duke.
is the appropriate
the
reset.
double Duke.
Next Duke Nukem game
Next Duke Nukem,
is going to
which should
kill.
only take 25 or 30 years, given how this one's going, should be epic. Yeah.
This was Nuke Dukem.
I'm calling him Luke Jukem, is what I'm calling him.
Oh, my.
Throwing that back. All right. Well, I think we've pretty much talked this gun to death, you
Yeah.
guys.
Yeah.
We've kind of sophomore slumped our own sophomore slump.
Yeah.
Oh my.
So anyway, moving on, guys. Speaking of sophomore slumps in the games business, we're going to talk a little bit about Sony's marketing strategy, also dubbed by Staughton as snarketing.
Snarketing, because basically what Sony's decided to do is to have all their marketing for the PlayStation 4 just be snark at Microsoft. It started at E3, where you are Microsoft.
I know, thank you. It just helped me put the money signs on my chest, like Microsoft man coming in to save your stocks.
Microsoft, man. You're gonna need that job.
I know.
But what happened is at E3, they basically came out, and we all know what Microsoft did at E3, and you guys talked about how they've responded to that.
Right.
Well, Sony, after mocking, essentially, Microsoft on stage at E3, with their own little videos and their own little quips, kind of had a little bit of marketing dry spell for quite a bit. And then at Gamescom, they come out and then just take a gut punch right into Microsoft, basically saying, we got it right the first time. I mean, so at this point, what do you have to sell me? Because the way I see it, going back to the marketing, since E3, we've heard that they lied about the amount of RAM that they actually have that's useful. There was a story that Battlefield 4, which is going to be a huge launch title, doesn't look as good on the PS4. And then most recently, they just spoiled everything for GTA 5 fans to the point where they had to apologize, and Rockstar basically had to say, yeah, we're pissed. So Sony has repeatedly stepped in it, and they seem to have to go back to this well of appeasing their fan base with this kind of marketing. So the big question out of all this is, does snarketing sell you many more units? Because that's what it's all about.
Yeah. Well, honestly, this is, happened before. We had Nintendo and Sega in the past doing this same kind of attack ad hominem, our things runs faster. They had Mario and they have Sonic, and Sonic runs so much faster. Don't you want to play fast? That kind of thing, and play it loud and all that stuff. They had that mentality, and never really worked out, obviously, for Sega, because now Sega's owned by Nintendo.
Yeah, it was Damon, who at some point may appear on this podcast.
Possibly.
That was his first thing. He goes, yeah, Sony's bringing that back. We do what Nintendo don't. And Damon, being the Sony fanboy, I held my fire, but I'm going to say it here since he can't talk back.
That's right. No defending yourself, Damon. We got you.
Do you want to compare your preferred company to the company that basically drove itself into oblivion that doesn't exist anymore?
Dreamcast? Anybody?
Yeah, it's a good system, but it just...
Is this on?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
So, do you think snarketing, you're saying...
Will that sell you a single more PlayStation 4 than if you step in it, frankly, like Microsoft did?
Well, So they said at E3, or they said later at E3, that they went into E3 with 2 game plans, right? And that they were going to take the exact same approach as Microsoft, but they intentionally put their show after Microsoft to see what the reaction would be.
Yeah.
And so then they saw, almost outrage over the stuff that Microsoft put out there.
Outrage is probably an understatement.
Yeah, right. So then Sony said, okay, plan B. And what they did is, and you could tell if you go back and watch that, you can tell they make pointed marks to the Microsoft presentation that had just happened. Nobody does their writing that quickly. You know what I mean? Nobody does a whole presentation like this.
Yeah.
And so they as soon as they saw that, they had their people, their writers, kind of tweak it right there into their plan B, which was to stick with what worked on PlayStation 3 and allow all this backwards compatibility, that you get to keep all the stuff you love. And, oh my God, the fanboys just loved it. I think it is working for Sony to an extent.
Yes.
Some of it at the beginning was funny.
And I mean, do I think that they're selling more PlayStations because of this strategy? I would say up until maybe a month ago, absolutely. I think it did work. That day, I mean, it's just from the fact that people weren't buying Microsoft, right? They were not pre-ordering. Sony they sold out at Amazon almost a month before the Xbox. Now, we don't know, okay, did Sony do Nintendo-esque trickery with quantity?
Making it.
We've sold out.
Exactly.
We've only got 5 of these available. Order up.
Right, who knows? But they sold out almost a month before.
Yeah.
And before Microsoft did. And I mean, I know just from talking to people that aren't as serious about gaming as we are, that they were quite concerned about Microsoft and looked at, and just, I mean, Sony made it very easy to sort of jump on the bandwagon because they did a bandwagon campaign.
Oh, yeah.
Their snarketing campaign was, hey, jump on our bandwagon of Microsoft hate. And
we're going to give you your games, all your stuff, and you're not going to have to jump through these hoops.
It's easy to hate on Microsoft, right? I mean, from the get-go, before Microsoft even made games, it was easy to hate on Microsoft. Yeah. So they sort of built that up, and then their little their instructional video.
How to share games.
Yeah,
right.
That was the height of it. That was the best
exactly.
thing they did.
Yep.
And it was pretty funny, and I think it did work for them. But I got to stick by what we said in the video short, and if you haven't seen that, it's up on our YouTube. But
why haven't you watched it yet?
Right.
I see you.
We'll wait here. You go watch it.
Right. So I got to stick by that and say that I think Microsoft's plan now, their recovery plan, is working for them better than Sony saying, yeah, we did it right the first time. You don't need anything else.
Yeah.
I think that's working for them better than the constant snarkiness.
They have been a one-trick pony, so to speak. They haven't come out with anything since that has really been at least Sony related, like, hey, that's headline grabbing, except for negative stuff.
Well, I mean, I'd say Sony has more exclusives, though, right? But under their belt at their studios.
Apparently, it's only exclusives on indie downloads.
No. I'm talking about like Infamous and those kind of games, like God of War. They've got more franchises to me that I think are more interesting. Sony does in general, like. Xbox gets stuck into this groove of it's the Halo, Madden, Call of Duty box that you get all the bros in,
Yeah.
But
Gran Turismo.
Yeah.
You're going to sell a lot of units just because of Gran Turismo, regardless of your...
Well, I'd say Forza is actually gaining more speed, as far as the credibility of a franchise. I think
that's true.
I think because
Gran Turismo 5 took forever to come out.
Yeah.
And then it didn't really blow everybody's minds like they thought it was going to.
Because Forza did 3 games in the time it took them to put one out.
The entire franchise of Forza happened between Gran Turismo 4 and Gran Turismo 5. So they just waited way too long. But that's one franchise in the Sony. And I think you're right. There are more exclusives on Sony.
They don't sell as well. That's the thing. I mean, I think they're better quality games. Like, Last of Us has just come out recently. There's all the Uncharted series. There's Infamous is huge. The Second Son coming out. That's one of their big ones they're pushing. Looks awesome. Games look great, but, they don't sell as well just because word of mouth,
Right. As far as on the snarketing side of this, I think this is going downhill for Sony. I think Sony needs a fresh scoop of something to sweeten the pot here on why you need to buy a PlayStation 4. In the last gen, I said this before, but I owned all three consoles. I had the Nintendo offering, I had the Sony offering, and I had the Microsoft, the Xbox. But this gen, the big reason in the last gen to own a PlayStation 3 was, at least at the time, it was one of the cheapest Blu-ray players you could get.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you got access to some of the God of Wars and things like that. Now with the Xbox having the Blu-ray player in it, Sony needs something.
Yeah.
They really do. PlayStation Move is not doing it for
There is no,
No, I'm not.
You don't like colored balls on the end of your controller? Are you a big fan of balls on your controller?
But there is no hardware reason to go out and choose either one of these systems. There's no hardware reason to do it. I understand that there is like one tiny, like they're using DDR5, but if everyone's programming their games to run off a DDR3,
you're not really going to see a big.
So what?
You might be able to bump your frame rates at something like that, but your textures are going to be the same.
But again, that was what was interesting about the Battlefield 4 news was that because Battlefield 4 was written on PCs that were basically identical to the Xbox One, that and then you switch that over to PS4, it doesn't look as good. I mean, it's not just simply a spec issue. The Blu-ray thing was an advantage. I don't know. It's gonna be interesting to see how it all plays out. But you're right. Sony has to do something other than take shots at Microsoft to make the casual person want to buy it.
What do you think they could do? If we're just gonna table talk that a little bit, what do you think they could put out there that would make you go, "Damn, I might have to do some considering about a PS4"?
For me, I don't know that there's really a whole lot of anything that, I don't own a PS3, so I would have liked to maybe have played some of their exclusives, but I'm not, so into it that I went out and bought a PS3 and played all the exclusives and stuff like that. So I'm not really drawn into the PlayStation 4 exclusives because, I've
didn't hook you on the early ones.
Yeah, I've not played in the early stuff. So for me, I don't know that I've really heard a whole lot of anything. I mean, I'm interested kind of in the indie side of things. I think it would be pretty interesting, especially being able to put your own games on there and stuff like that.
But both of
them can do it. So it's not really a big draw to Sony.
Sony had that as like a feather in their cap, and Microsoft just kind of plucked it out and said, "Hey, we got the same thing.
We can do the same thing."
Even though it may not be the same thing, and it may take a while for them to put it together. Microsoft is not letting Sony get away with having a hardware or a built-in software thing that you have to go get a PlayStation.
Right? Because I had heard that the Twitch, the
TV
partnership,
Twitch TV,
right? With Twitch TV. Was going to be originally that was a Sony.
Yep.
That was they designed their controller with it, a share button on there, and then they built it into the Xbox framework as well. So now
you mean Twitch doesn't want more money? No.
Well, this is a very good thing for Twitch. Not to get on too much of a tangent, but think about it. Before this next gen, how many boxes in your house are Twitch compatible? Just your computer, really, right?
You got to buy all the separate...
Right. So there's only going to be, their market penetration of how many households are they really in? Not very many.
Yeah.
Next gen, it's going to be huge. It's going to be enormous.
Yeah.
So
meanwhile, Staunton's going to have to upgrade his internet.
Yeah.
Okay, so...
I think that if I was Sony, I would just pimp the hell out of my exclusives. I would personally, again, I'm like you.
Yep.
I never played a PS3 exclusive from this last generation, and I don't feel like I missed anything.
You missed a lot.
Did I really,
Yes.
though? What did I miss? I mean, I know Last of Us has been popular recently, but I think that if you didn't play Halo in this last generation, you missed out on kind of a defining game of this generation.
Well, I would say it's the defining game of the last generation, too.
Well, the only game that I think that maybe was a little bit of generation defining would be God of War.
That was the tail end of PS2, though. I mean, that was kind of like that was that swan song of PS2 to bring in.
I know. So this is what I say that's the only game where I feel like I kind of wish I had played that game.
Metal Gear.
Yeah.
Metal Gear 4.
Yeah, but now you can get Metal Gear on Xbox. They're starting. They're going to start continuing on. So that's not really. I would say the Uncharted series. In my opinion, Uncharted series is worth it. Heavy Rain was a defining game of the generation as far as a story, playing a story.
We have in this scenario, what's happened is that there are very few exclusives, AAA title exclusives anymore. There's not. There may be a couple, but really the only true exclusives out there are Nintendo's.
Yeah.
And supposedly they've got a system out. It's got a new in it. I don't know. Whatever.
Okay, so like he's right here because you look at Halo. Sony's answer was Killzone.
Well, Destiny, right? Now.
Destiny's going to be everything.
Yeah, but Killzone was not nearly the level of
but it was Sony's answer.
Yeah, it was Sony's answer.
Future-based, lots of planets.
Now, if Killzone looked like what it did in
the latest iteration.
Well, I mean, I was going to say in the original trailers we saw before before Xbox and PS3 or Xbox 360 and PS3 came out, and they had those trailers, and it was like the full motion video, and you're like, oh my god, I'm going to be playing this, and it looked phenomenal. It never looked like that. I mean, they use CGI to make everything look fantastic.
There are lists out there. If you go look at what Sony promised with the PS3, they when they first came out, they're like, it's going to do this, and it's going to look like this, and here are the games you're going to play. And I think, is it Wired did a big thing on vaporware, and they had a thing on PlayStation 3.
How many games came out, or didn't come out that were supposed to?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And I mean, not that Microsoft doesn't do the same thing. They're like, oh, it's going to look like this.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like that until we're getting ready for the next gen.
Yeah.
Because it's all pre-rendered stuff that, well, technically it should be able to be pushed to this level.
Like Battlefield 3 looked amazing, but not on Xbox 360. It looked amazing on the PC that was running ridiculous graphics, They showed those in the trailers.
I mean, you could tell the difference between Battlefield 3 on
all three. Yeah.
And on Xbox. So maybe there will be some of that. I'm going to say that one thing that Sony should do at this point that would get them at least some consideration from my standpoint is if they made a partnership with Steam. If they did something for digital distribution to go around what Microsoft originally wanted to do, maybe, and offered digital downloads with massive sales that Steam does, if they can pull that off, that is a system that Microsoft they've already sort of backed out of that train. So if Sony can spin this into, hey, we're doing this, and they say up front, if they do it the right way the first time on this,
you buy this copy and you can get it on either your PC or a PS3. See, this is what
PS4.
Or PS4, sorry. This is what they did with Portal 2. I purchased actually 2 copies of Portal 2. I got the PS3 copy because I wanted the PC version, and I got the Xbox 360 so we could play multiplayer.
Right.
Got the PS3 version, was able to download it on Steam. The PC version, straight up, because of the PS3.
So if they do that, I think that is something that will give Sony an advantage. But they've given no signs that they're going to do something like that.
I doubt it.
And it would have to be worded right. Because Microsoft didn't word it right when they said, hey, we're going digital distribution. Everybody was like, what?
They're more likely to use their Gaikai partnership or whatever that they're using with that to stream their backwards compatibility. And that's where I think that partnership is going to come as far as digital distribution. I don't see them
Okay, well, if they
did, I would. I'd be all in.
If they did something like that, where they did the big Steam style sales, where you could get, digital. You don't have to worry about whether it's scratched or not, or whatever. It is a new copy that you don't have to worry about whether you're buying an EA license. Although they backed out of that as well. But if they did something like that, I think that would be an advantage.
What's funny, though, is that they couldn't just say, hey, we're going to do it. It's going to be just like Steam. Trust us. It's kind of like if they came out and said, hey, we're going to have live streaming. You're like, really? Are you sure that it's going to be as good? But when they say, hey, we're partnering with Twitch, you're like, oh, okay. All right, that's legit.
Yeah.
So they can't just say, hey, we're going to have something like Steam. They'd have to come out and say, we're partnering with Steam because they've got the rep that everyone knows what that means exactly. Yeah. There's not going to be surprises, even though there always are surprises. But
one other thing, PC to console gaming, that would be really cool.
Oh, like the merger,
right? We've been talking about this since Xbox and PS2 days. That when is it going to happen that you're going to be able to have PC gaming, the vastness of PC gaming player base merged with consoles.
It's hard.
And I know in first-person shooters, whatnot, you've got, a mouse advantage, whatnot. But you could do this with servers that allow it or don't allow it. But if you said we fully support it, our systems are integrated enough, and they did this partnership with, like, Steam or something like that, it would make so much sense.
And they do it now with DC Universe Online, or at least they did. They had it where PS3 players could play with Xbox, and there was, or not Xbox, PC. So there was certain limitations, like they had a chat filter on it, so you could never turn it off because they had to not kitify it, right? Kitify it the best that they could because you can't, sell that game without having the rating, and then setting these certain things up, like typing is hard, with a controller.
Well,
they've got the chat pads and everything, but the more we get away with that, the more we get voice communication there. Yeah. I mean, honestly, Sony, that would be great for Sony because Sony's infrastructure for online has been horrible for years. I mean, the chat has been horrible. I've used both, and the chat quality is just way lower on the Sony servers. Yeah, there's still not a party chat. So if they could leverage Steam servers, like you said, I mean, man, that's a boost for me. I mean, for me personally, I think I'm kind of all in on all of them anyway, because I like a lot of the exclusives, even Nintendo. I mean, there's a lot of games on there that I'll play that I eventually will pick up. Will I buy it day one? Probably not. I'm going to wait. I got burned purchasing my PS3 because I got it and wanted to play Metal Gear Solid, and I thought I'd schmooze one over on Walmart and take it back. But instead of renting Metal Gear Solid, I opened the copy that came with, and so they said, you can't give us back the bundle after I opened it. But it worked out for me in my favor because I got so many years of gaming on it. But when I originally got it, I made the bundle mistake of opening the bundle. Yes. So, well, I think we pretty much talked this one to death too, you guys. I mean, it's, anybody else got anything else you want to add to snarketing? Our lovely Sony. Yeah, let's move on. We're going to move into a little bit of linear versus open world gaming. Oh, yes, Gamescom. Yes. So,
slide in there.
Yeah.
Somebody had a slide in there.
Somebody had a slide, yes. So, right now there's kind of this gap between linear games, open world games. You get shoved into this genre. You either have this very Hollywood scripted kind of linear path where you can tell, you're in Final Fantasy 13 and they want you to run down this aisle, and you just get to the next and it doesn't open up until the end. Or you're in something like Assassin's Creed or Grand Theft Auto where it's complete sandbox open world. What do you guys feel like the future is? Do you think that it's going to be one or the other? You think we're always going to have this bridge or gap between the two? You think there's going to be more bridging? What do you think? Do you think there'll be more Assassin's Creeds in the future?
I think you might see... I think there's always going to be linear versus open world. There will be game styles that tend more to have, okay, I'm going to go back to this city over and over and over again. There will be always things for me to do there. Mm-hmm. And then there's going to be other things where, that city blew up or something. And so it has to be linear. You can't go back or whatever. Or what might happen, like a lot of people were displeased with Fable.
Yes.
Right? Because Fable was corridors. Right?
Yes, and it was supposed to be this big open world. Peter Molyneux, you promised.
But it kind of was. It was like this weird bridge between linear and open world, right? Because you could go back to the cities and things like that, but it was like you saw a fence and you wanted to jump over it, but no, you got to walk in this little lane here. So I think what you might see is a linear story that you can't go back to the way it was exactly.
Mm-hmm.
But I think you might see things more like, Fable, where you have the fence, you can hop the fence now and you can roam in a much bigger area. And maybe like Last of Us or some of these survival things where it's open world, but they still make it corridor because if you step outside the corridor, something happens that makes you not want to go outside the corridor.
Right.
Like, if it's a zombie game and they want you to run through a certain area, if you go outside, maybe it's, there's lights or something like that attracts attention or whatever. And so, it's open world to an extent. I don't know.
I would say linear, like Last of Us had a very open world feel. Like there was lots of buildings in it, but it was a linear game. Like you could go in and go in these sections and it almost felt like you had choice, but in the end they were funneling you. But I think the magic in that is how they make it feel like you're not being funneled, but you just naturally gravitate towards something. Like open world games, it's the opposite where it's like you're just tossed in and then, for me, for instance, like I have ADD, so it's like I see every little thing and I just keep jumping and I can never stay on task. So linear games sometimes tend to be, I like almost that push towards gravitation towards, hey, this is your goal and everything, because I get that ADD and want to just do secondary objectives all the time. Just like,
yeah. And I think some of it's going to depend on, at least not so much in the production, but who plays them. A lot of it's a time sink, really.
Mm-hmm.
In a linear game, you can get, maybe 15, 20 hours of gameplay out of a linear game.
Yeah, max.
And that may even be with replay.
Yeah.
Replaying the game once or twice.
Yeah.
On an open world, like I just finished playing Red Dead Redemption. And holy crap.
100 hours.
Ridiculous amount of time.
Probably.
But I mean, really, the issue you run into open world games is mundane tasks. Herding cattle. Hooray, that was exciting. I enjoyed doing that the 5 times I had to do it.
Did you speak like John Wayne after you got off that horse?
Yeah, it was...
I just spent all day herding cattle.
But really, like the open world, like I could have really done without the open world. If they'd have just had a pretty straight through story, a couple little side missions, I don't think it would have hurt all as much. So, games will probably continue to be open world and will probably gravitate towards open world. Or at least, I think more kind of what you're talking about, where as opposed to open world, it's still linear, but it's multi-path linear.
Yeah.
So you're going to get here, but you can go here, or you can go here, or you can go here, or you can go, a couple different paths. You're still going to end up in the same spot.
The Mass Effect
You
approach.
just feel like you have more control over how you got from A to B versus...
Yep.
That's what I'm really looking forward to with GTA 5, because the promise is that, it's going to be, here's your mission, rob a bank. Now, how do you rob that bank? Do you go in stealth? Do you go in guns blazing? Yeah. And then you set yourself up to achieve that objective. Going back, let's say Assassin's Creed, that's open world until you have a mission.
Right.
Yeah, and then when you have a mission, there's really only one path that you can take to get that mission done, especially if you want 100% sync it. Then you have to go along that path.
Yeah.
I don't count climbing trees and grabbing feathers as being open world. It's a little bit like herding cattle.
Yeah.
It's still, just because I can run to the objective, whichever direction I want, that's not open world. Open world is, I have to complete a mission. How I choose to complete that mission is entirely up to me. That's what I like. I think most of the Elder Scrolls games do that fairly well.
I was going to say, it would be hard to imagine Skyrim as not open world.
Yeah.
Yeah, realistically, even in like a dungeon, you still have a lot of choices on how you deal with what's occurring in that dungeon. Maybe it's not necessarily about being able to take different paths. It's just that how you approach the conflict has to be completely open.
Yeah. And one of the games that pops into my head that did that really well was, if you played it, the Deus Ex.
Yes. Human Revolution or the original.
You could stealth that entire game. There was actually an achievement for not killing anyone in the entire game. You stealth through the entire game. or you could shoot everybody, or you had arm blades that you could just sneak up on everybody and cut them up. You could play it whatever way you wanted. It still, had the same beginning, had the same ending, but you could decide to get to the end exactly how you wanted to.
Yeah, they had different paths as well. You're right, that branching path where I want to go through this vent and get in here and hack this computer to get through or whatever.
Yeah.
Watch Dogs is kind of like that, or at least it's supposed to be that open world with a linear kind of path where you can choose to do different things. And
Deus Ex was really interesting about that too, because there were like 2 or 3 different ways that you could defeat the bosses as well.
Yes.
Yeah. So that was kind of interesting as well. You felt like, you're like, yeah, and then, when I tranquilized that one boss and he went to sleep and everybody else is like, you didn't just kill the boss? Mm-hmm. And then there's like, yeah, I totally snuck past the one boss.
Yeah.
And they're like, he was freaking difficult. You didn't have to fight him.
Yeah.
So that was pretty interesting stuff.
Yeah, on that one I'm pretty sure I'd seen, like, the final boss, you could hit with a laser from walking straight into the room. You could shoot them with a laser and end the boss fight immediately.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, you could, spend 20 minutes jumping from zone to zone, avoiding all the electric.
And it worked in that game
shocks
because the ending wasn't quite right there either.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You had some more stuff that had to get done. So it was interesting in that respect, being open world, sort of like that.
Yeah.
Now, Deus Ex was one that I thought was going to be a little bit more open world.
Me too.
I thought there would be more rooms that I would be able to go in, that sort of thing. One that I'm sort of looking forward to is Battlefield 4. I'm hoping that there's a lot more buildings you can go in and fire from, and it's not just, I realize you're in downtown, but there's this building you can go in, and there's this building.
Yeah, where they lock the doors.
That is immensely frustrating.
You get M302 and you can't break down the door.
It is. You have a building, and you have a building across from it, and you can go up in that building, but there's no way you can get into the other building. Again, except for the fact, that's always frustrated me about games, actually, is that the environment isn't properly destructible. Like, I don't have to bring down the whole building, but if I can't, chop that board open with my sword, in the case of like Skyrim or something like that, or M320, whatever, then that ruins that doesn't ruin the experience, for heaven's sakes, but it does take me out of the experience a little bit, because I know in reality that your stupid little wooden door couldn't stand up to whatever I'm about to
It's the
throw
Zelda
at
method.
it.
You're just hacking the signs down.
So I think that games will become more open world just naturally, because you'll be able to program that kind of thing into the game. And then they'll make a metal wall instead of a wooden wall. They'll find a way to get around it.
Well, they have to, just because of the simply the amount of assets that have to be created. They're more complex now. I almost feel like open world, like you're thinking more as the term open world in my game, where I have more flexibility within it, as opposed to the actual gameplay.
There's actually, multiple ways we could define this. We could have open world, open objective, open consequences, where basically, it was, and I think it was Morrowind for the Elder Scrolls, where you could kill main characters, and it would tell you screwed up, and now you can't win.
But do you want to keep playing?
But
you're like, sure.
But you could kill them.
Yep.
That frustrates the heck out of me. In Skyrim, I had an experience where I turned into the Vampire Lord, and the Sun Guard, or whatever, can't remember their name off the top of my head.
Dawn Guard.
Dawn Guard, thank you. Kept on sending soft and squishies at me for me to slaughter mercilessly. And that was okay, except for it got kind of annoying. I'd fast travel into an area, I'd get attacked by 3 guys that had no business being there. I said, I'm going to go kill the entire Dawn Guard. Or I actually set out to make amends with them, because I was no longer a vampire. I cured my vampirism. I show up, and they immediately attack me. So I kill every one of them, except for, the main guy.
And the women? And the children?
There were no women and children. Well, there may have been women, but there were no children.
And the horses.
But everybody got raped. But that main guy, I could not kill. It was literally impossible. That took me out of the game. That legitimately made me angry.
On the same token there, though, one of the things that I really liked that was open world about Skyrim is when I went through, I joined, what were the champions or the werewolf clan in Whiterun.
It's the warrior clan, but I can't remember the name of it either.
Anyway, I joined them, cured my lycanthropy, and then became a vampire. And then I was like, I need a home. I need a nice big space. So I went back to Whiterun, which is like the home of the werewolves.
Yep.
And I slaughtered everyone in that town. It was awesome. So I could just put my stuff wherever, because in Skyrim, when you drop stuff, it stays right there, especially in main areas. So I killed literally everybody in Whiterun. It was awesome. Whiterun was my house.
Yes.
I could fast travel to my house. So in that respect, I liked it. But that was, I think I would have run into the same thing if it hadn't been so late in the story. Like if the Jarl had still been in Whiterun, I don't think I would have been able to kill him because he plays a role later.
Yeah.
Anyway, when I did it, everybody died.
Yeah.
There was nobody left living in Whiterun. Although... what's odd is the Dawn Guards still attack you. Like, even if after you kill everybody, they're like, it's a ghost town. I know, let's wait for him.
But it is. That takes you out of the experience a bit. And there's a line that with open world gameplay where they have to engage you.
Yes.
And so it's not truly open world. I remember... when one of the first MMOs, Ultima Online.
Yes.
Seeing this for the first time, and I've never been a big MMO guy, but a friend of mine was showing it to me, and he's like, hey, check this guy out. All he does 8 hours a day is fishes and sells his fish. And that's total insanity. I don't know who he was or how much free time he had to do that.
It's probably a bot.
But it was you could chat with him.
You could chat with bots.
It was legit. It was legit. Yeah, it was legit. I mean, this was this guy's hobby was fishing on all.
I suppose you could always set it up.
This is what people do in World of Warcraft as well. I mean, you're not. Yeah, they fish. They'll fish all damn day off the dock like they would do in normal life. They just fish off the dock for imaginary fish. I mean,
so but in a way, that's the ultimate open world goal, right? Is to be able to literally, if you want to just herd cattle. You want to just go herd cattle, but
you could be a scruffy-looking nerf herder.
At the same time, that does nothing to advance the game whatsoever.
But that's okay, though. In that instance, that's okay.
For me, not okay. Yeah, for me, not okay because I don't know. It's just like I need an objective. I need something to do, and it has to be.
It's basically tower defense in Assassin's Creed. It's an unnecessary game mechanic that kind of gets in the way of the story.
Yes.
But at the same time, if it's not there.
Somebody would
complain.
This
isn't open world. You said this was open world, and I can't herd cattle. Yeah.
You said I was going to be a cowboy, but I can't be a cowhand, ranch hand person.
I think it's good that those mechanics are there. And if people want to be sitting there for 8 hours a day fishing, I suppose whatever. I mean, that guy's getting his enjoyment out of it.
Yeah, that's true.
What's the big complaint about Red Dead? You can't sleep with the prostitutes. That's the big complaint about. I mean,
I suppose prior to the end of the game,
silly.
It was Staughton's complaint. Why can't I sleep?
No.
This is a Rockstar game. Why can't I sleep with a prostitute?
I'm going to the saloon
to get my money back.
Exactly.
Geez.
My wife's like, you should sleep with her, then kill her and get your money back. And I'm like, that's brilliant, honey.
Most of those prostitutes
have a gun.
They're pretty rough looking in Red Dead Redemption. I don't know that.
That's why you lasso them and drag them behind your horse and then leave them on railroad tracks.
Did you ever get to shoot the pianist for being a terrible?
You could shoot the pianist.
Yes. See, that's okay.
Or start a fight with him.
Yeah, oddly enough, you can shoot or get in a fight with everybody.
You play the piano terrible.
Yes.
Yeah. It's I think that open world really is going to be defined more by open objectives. Because in order to have a game of any reasonable length and quality, they can only give you so many open things that you can just do if you're a jackass.
Yeah.
They have to actually. Yeah. They have to say, go kill this guy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How you do it, we don't care.
Yeah.
We're going to walk up to him on the street, put a bullet in him, and then deal with the consequences. That's fine. If you want to climb the bell tower, snipe him, that's fine. If you want to wait till he goes to sleep,
Hitman method,
and then,
right?
well, basically, yeah. Except for it has to apply to more than just kill this guy.
Yeah.
They have to find a way to apply it to recover this, this object. How do you recover it? Let's say it's in a bank, like if you're doing a bank robbery.
Yeah.
So that's what I want.
Or if it's like Fallout 3, you pickpocket and insert the grenades.
Right.
Actually, I mean, realistically, Fallout, and I like Fallout New Vegas better than Fallout 3.
Right.
But Fallout New Vegas was one of the greatest open world games I think I've played, even more so than Skyrim, because it had real world consequences to the faction you chose over another. If you sided with, a group of townspeople, then the gang members trying to take over the town were all hostile towards you. But you could side with the gang members, and then you could do their set of missions. That had real consequences that most games avoid, because Fallout likes to play around with morality tales and how you get about your business.
Yeah.
I remember the end of Fallout 3. I had the big brute, like the Hulk, whatever his name was. I don't remember. Like the one that was nice. I convinced him to join me and be my sidekick.
Sure.
And so you get to the end and you have to go into this highly radioactive area and shut down whatever the hell it is. And I'm like, okay, well, he's, completely immune to radioactivity. I'm going to send him in. And the game's like, you fucking chickened out at the last minute. I was like, what? He's the logical choice. What does it matter? It's shut down.
Yeah.
Don't be mad at me because I didn't go in and do it. I'm more likely to die. Come on.
How did you not know that if you went in there, they're like, you frickin' retard?
Well, and I think that's another thing too, is when they have something that costs a lot of assets, like it's costing a lot of money to make these games now. And if they're going to make it more cinematic, like Last of Us, for example, is like incredibly cinematic, well voice acted in that. They can't
Metal Gear Solid cinematic, like
you'll never see an open world Metal Gear game ever. It can't happen.
That's what they
Metal
say.
Gear 5.
That's what they say.
Metal Gear Solid 5, open world.
Apparently,
a little bit of Red Dead too, because you're riding horses around.
Yeah, well, that's what they say, but we'll see it when we get there. Yeah. But, let us know in the comments below the show on any of this stuff that we've talked about today, and if you want to reach us, you can get a hold of us at www.facebook.com/fairlyawesomepodcast and on Twitter at FAPcast. Thanks, guys. Are you going to have your phone on the table?
No.
This is not a phone. That's not a phone.
iPad. That's not a phone. This is a phone.
It's a little small for an
This isn't
iPad.
a phone.
I fucking hate you.
I fucking hate you.
It's the latest product from Steve Jobs. Zombie Steve Jobs.
I
IWGF.
fucking hate you.
Yeah.
I would buy something from Zombie Steve Jobs.
That would be the best product. I fucking hate you. I fucking hate you. Complete with your I fucking hate you charger.
Right.
His kids already got that their whole lives. Why do they need more of it? Ow. Too soon to refer to him as a bad parent?